In this story, we rewind to 1996 when I was a 17-year-old with a beat-up Chevy Cavalier as my pride and joy, right alongside my beloved original PlayStation. I had a tight-knit group of friends, and I was the only one with a license and a car. Once I started driving, we would lessen on the video game playing and instead cruise around our town and neighboring areas, always on the lookout for something interesting. One eerie late night in October, we were out driving and couldn't believe how impenetrable the fog was. Living on the Oregon coast, we were no strangers to foggy weather, but this night the fog was so dense it felt almost supernatural, making it the most intense fog I've ever witnessed. Even though staying inside would have been the safer choice that night, we decided to head to a nearby golf course. I parked the car and Jesse, Liam, Will, and I ventured out into the vast open fairways. It might seem like a peculiar way to have some fun, but for us, exploring places like that, especially in eerie conditions, was an adventure we couldn't resist. We created a competition and divided into two groups, Liam with Will and Jesse with me. Liam and I had watches, so we were team leaders. The challenge was to gather as many golf flags as we could and regroup at the car in 30 minutes. As we swiftly roamed through the foggy fairways, the shouts of Liam and Will grew fainter as we parted ways. The mist speckling our faces felt invigorating, providing a natural burst of energy as we continued. Several paces ahead, Jesse suddenly halted and fixed his gaze in one direction. When I caught up and asked what was going on, he paused before saying he thought he saw someone, then quickly took off. Immediately after, we heard muffled shouting, but couldn't discern the words. I thought maybe it was just the other guys, but Jesse wasn't convinced. Why would anyone else be out here? But I suppose these mysterious figures could be thinking the same thing about us. Jesse was clearly frightened, his head on a constant swivel as we finally reached our first flag at hole 3. Just as we removed the flag, a loud, terrifying scream from a woman pierced the air. Her voice sent a spike of fear straight through us. Starting to feel pretty unnerved now, we decided to just move in the opposite direction of that horrific ghostly wail and head back to the car. We both were not in the mood to play hero and investigate further. Things only got worse as we quickly found ourselves utterly lost. We had no sense of direction. Calling out for Liam and Will, we held onto our single flag, no longer caring about the competition. "Carter, look," Jesse suddenly said, pointing towards 3 dark, misty figures barely visible in the thick fog, no more than 20 feet away. I squinted, trying to get a better view, but the figures vanished when we heard more shouting behind us. Those voices, though, sounded like Liam and Will. We eventually regrouped, and they had collected about 5 flags. When we told them about seeing and hearing others out here, they were more excited and laughing about the flags they had gathered. Together again as a complete group, we made our way back to the car, though we only had a vague sense of the direction it was in. To our disbelief, after about 30 minutes of searching the foggy greens for our parking spot, we found the road we had come in on. But as we approached the parking spot, the car had vanished, leaving behind only dirty tire marks. Just then, looking ahead, we saw the hazy red taillights of my car disappearing into the mist as it drove away. We were all in shock, and it took a while to process what had happened. Stranded in the middle of nowhere without a phone or any means of communication, we began walking down the foggy county road. Luckily, a car eventually approached and gave us a ride back into town. Trying to explain what happened to my parents when I got home made me look foolish. Looking back at half the things I did at that age, I realized how dangerous and reckless they were. My car was never found, The figures we saw at the golf course and the screams that made our hair stand on end serve as a constant reminder that there are unforeseen dangers and threats out there. Fortunately, they didn't seem violent, but every time there's a foggy night, I'm reminded of that eerie experience.